WGN investigates tonight. Charles Green was 16 when he was sentenced to life in prison for a crime he says he didn't do.
Now a free man, he stands at the center of a major court case involving the possible release of Chicago police misconduct records going back to 1967. WGN investigates. Ben Bradley has the story.
Charles Green did not intend to become the poster child for police transparency. He was just a teenager when the cops came calling. Now, all these years later, this unlikely character may unmask the mysteries that have haunted the Chicago Police Department for years.
Man, you got some pictures.
This is Charles Green today, 51 years old.
I really can't tell.
Jobless and suffering from a degenerative eye condition.
I gotta go and see the eye doctor so I can have the operation.
You don't remember the picture?
No, that don't even look like me. That look like Terry.
He's been out of prison for a decade, but the memory of those 20-plus years behind bars still haunt him.
I think you're 80.
And his mom.
Probably 85.
That's something that's just can't be just forgotten like that.
In 1985, at the age of 16, Chicago police arrested Green for a quadruple murder on this West Side block. He stood accused of accepting $25 to knock on the door of a drug dealer's apartment so two rivals could enter and kill the people inside. So how long were you in their custody before you confessed?
I don't know, but I know it was quite a few days. Gave in eventually and just said what they wanted me to say.
In legal filings, Green claimed his confession was coerced by police after being held in isolation for multiple days and repeatedly interrogated. Green believed if he complied with police officers, they would allow him to see his family and go home.
They do all kinds of things. Eventually they was like, okay then, this is what we need you to do. You say this and sign this and we'll let you go home. But when I did, I didn't come home until like 24 years later.
Charles Green left prison in 2009 after a judge reduced his sentence amid questions about police tactics and why eyewitness testimony that could have helped him was not allowed to be heard at trial.
It was the perfect storm of every conceivable abuse and mistake.
Former Assistant Public Defender Tim Leeming helped win Green's release.
He's still technically convicted of murder, convicted of murdering 4 people, which everybody agrees he didn't do, which is why he's not in jail anymore.
Because it scared me, you know.
Green has spent the last decade fighting to clear his name, and in doing so, he may end up unearthing a mountain of misconduct claims dating back decades. Here's how. In 2015, Green's attorney sent an open records request to the Chicago Police Department asking for closed complaint register files or records of officer misconduct. Not just those involving police in Green's case, but the entire department, going back to the late 1960s, including allegations during the years Mayor Lori Lightfoot led an agency that probes misconduct.
It's got to be hundreds of thousands of papers and files.
Jared Casaglat is Green's attorney.
How does one guy's case potentially lead to a treasure trove of documents about police conduct?
Charles found out that the city had been ordered to destroy all of their police misconduct files, and he said that he didn't want them destroyed and that there might be evidence of police misconduct that would help him prove his innocence, and there might be evidence that helps other people prove their innocence.
Legal experts say police could have argued that Green's request was overly burdensome, but the department didn't even respond in violation of state law. Green then sued. A judge ordered the city to release 4 years' worth of records by the end of 2018 and submit a schedule for the release of the remaining files, but the city hasn't complied with either order. Green and his legal team have received only about 100 files.
There's 2 pending motions to hold the city in contempt for failing to abide by the judge's order.
This isn't the first time City Hall has ran afoul of state transparency laws. WGN Investigates found Chicago paid nearly $1.2 million in fines and legal fees.
The Chicago Police Department
during Rahm Emanuel's tenure for legal battles relating to public records. Lightfoot campaigned on the promise of increased government transparency.
I
campaigned on change, you voted for change, and I plan to deliver change to our government.
But that may be easier said than done.
This is a city that has spent decades fighting to release individual files in individual cases about individual officers and has successfully hidden patterns of misconduct that jump off the page like a wrecking ball right in your face.
What do you hope people are able to learn from these files if they come out?
Hopefully they will learn that a lot of the people that's complaining about that, they will learn that some of them is not crying wolf. It's true.
In the meantime, Green is back living on the west side near family.
I got it though.
Imprisoned at age 16 before he learned to drive, he still hasn't gotten his license.
It's a lot of things that I didn't have a chance to do.
It still haunts you.
Yeah, it does. It does.
The police union and the city declined our request for an interview. The city plans to argue in court that this request is simply too big to fulfill. A law department spokesperson released a statement that says it seeks every complaint register file created since 1967, approximately 175,000 files, each of which contains dozens to hundreds of pages. Complying with this request would present numerous challenges, including millions of dollars in costs and expended public resources. The city is now asking a judge to reconsider his ruling. If the records are released, Green's attorneys say they would make them publicly available online. Ben Bradley, WGN Investigates.